So let me stray, please guide my way onto the path of my deen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, I'm calling your name. Oh, Allah.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, dear viewers, to another live episode of Let's Talk on your favorite station, Huda TV. I'm your host, Yusuf Kroma, and today we'll be talking about something very pertinent and relevant to our current status, our current happenings in society, which is youth and dawah. We'll be discussing the parameters of dawah as it relates to youth, what are responsibilities, who is qualified to give dawah, and how do we as youth engage in society? How do we become active people that are participating in society to change society for the better? As one of the elders said, that the youth are not the future, the youth are now. To say that the future is to delay our purpose. So we'll begin by introducing our guest all the way from Philadelphia, my hometown city, mashallah, Hamid Sharif. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah. Tell us a bit about yourself, brother.
I just said I'm named Hamid Sharif. I'm originally from Liberia. I was raised in Philadelphia, and I spent most of my youth years in the Muslim Arab countries studying Quran, Arabic, and other Islamic sciences.
Alhamdulillah. Well, it's always a pleasure to have you here,
It's
brother.
always good to be here.
MashaAllah. That shirt is looking very nice. Alhamdulillah.
I'm trying to get like you, man.
MashaAllah. Next we have our brother all the way from Skandariya. Brother, please introduce yourself and tell the people who you are and a bit about your background, inshallah.
Sure. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Yasser Al-Ashqar. I'm from Alexandria, Upper Egypt. I'm also from Morocco, lived in Kuwait and India, Pakistan, Saudi, been all over the place. So now it's time to see Egypt for now.
Just a traveling spirit, huh, brother?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
trying to be.
MashaAllah. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thanks. Pleasure, man.
MashaAllah. Next we have our brother Mujtahid in school, always working hard. Alhamdulillah. It's a pleasure to have you again, brother Patrick. How are you today?
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm Patrick. I'm from Slovenia. I came to Egypt since like middle school, and even before that actually. And now I'm studying here. I'm studying college, and I'm finished, inshallah.
Okay. And what are you studying here?
Management sciences.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, man. Lord, put tawfiq in your studies, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Last but certainly not least, we have the veteran of the show, as I like to call him OG, Idris Tawfiq. Assalamu alaikum, brother Idris.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Please tell us a bit about yourself, brother Idris.
Yeah, my name is Idris Surat, and I'm from America. I grew up kind of all over America and lived all over the world like brother here. Here studying Quran, Arabic, and teaching English.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. How have your studies been coming for you so far?
Rough, up and down, on and off. I'm pushing myself to get back to more of a full-time or better, at least a better schedule than I was before. I'm trying to anyways.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So let's get right into the subject, if you will, beginning with our guest Hamid.
Yes.
What is the definition of a da'i and its relative da'wah? How do we qualify these terms?
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. A da'i, it derives from the Arabic subject noun, da'wah. Or the subject is the subject pronoun da'i, but it derives from the root word da'wah, which means invitation. And this invitation is general. It can be to anything. It could be an invitation to food or an outing or anything of that nature. So the person who does this invitation is called a da'i. But we specify it in Islamic terms, invitation to the way of Allah or the way of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So anyone who calls to the religion of Islam and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his tradition is Sunnah, we call him a da'i.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, brother Yasser, you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, sure. Da'i, the word da'i means it could be also an invitation or can be also a call or a call out. A cause or a call or something that I try to reach to the people with. That's pretty much it for the definition.
Okay. Okay. Brother Patrick.
Yeah, the word dawah, when I first came to Egypt, came to me as, dawah as invitation. It could be in anything, but when I came to, in Islamic terms, when I came familiar with it, da'i is someone who has knowledge, experience, and who is on the right path, and wants others to join him, and he spreads the message. He goes, and he this is his own free will. Like, this is not his job. He does this for because he's on a happy path with Islam, and and nowadays, especially nowadays, I'm seeing that more and more youth are going off track. There are many things that they're focusing on that is really irrelevant in life, and it's not gonna, it's useless actually. So yeah, Da'i calls them back, on the right track. That's how I see it.
Brother Idris?
Yeah, for me, they pretty much covered the basic definition is pretty self-covered. But the only thing I would really add would be that a lot of people can confuse what a da'i does and is calling who they're calling. I would say to distinguish between a da'i, he's the one who's giving maw'id or to Muslims, or he's calling non-Muslims. So there's a big distinction between the two. Some people don't see, calling Muslims back to right is da'wah. Actually, it is.
Okay.
But some people don't see it that way.
Okay. So is there a distinction between the ones that invite, say, non-Muslims to Islam, and the one that sort of gives nasiha or tarbiyah, if you will, to Muslims? Is it the same category of?
Categorically, it's the same thing, but the only difference usually is that you're calling someone back to something that they already know.
Sure.
Versus someone calling someone who this is fresh to him. Like, what are you talking about? Islam, what's this? I don't know.
I would even go as far as to say that the one who is calling non-Muslims to Islam has a greater reward, because you're calling people to, let's say they actually accept Islam.
Yeah, sure.
It's a greater reward. It's a bigger responsibility. It's more difficult to try to convince someone who's not on the same ideology as you to the same page than someone who you already have common ground, and you just reminding them.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so let's get into the next question. What qualifies one to be a da'i or work in the field of da'wah? Or does anyone who have a Facebook and Instagram or social media and can wear a nice kufi, can anyone become a da'i? Does anyone have the responsibility of da'wah? Or are there certain qualifications that need to be met in order to enable one to give da'wah for the Hamid?
Perfect. The very first qualification one needs to become a da'i or call others to Islam is knowledge and insight.
Okay.
And when I say knowledge, I don't want people to get confused and think that you have to be a scholar to actually give da'wah or encompass like 80% of the knowledge of Islam to give da'wah. No. Whatever facet of Islam you want to teach or delineate to someone else, just make sure you understand that part very well, and then you can give da'wah in that regard.
Okay.
Like if you wanted to call someone to the 5 pillars of Islam, read about it, research, understand it thoroughly, and call someone to the 5 pillars of Islam.
Okay.
Or if you wanted to teach, some young kids juz amma, or teach someone the basics of fiqh, study it, understand it well, and call others to that you know. But it's not necessary that you have to encompass a lot of knowledge before you say, okay, I want to be a da'i. If that was the case, I don't think we'll have any da'is on the face of earth right now.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned something about studying and understanding it. But how am I to know that I understand something fully by just picking up a book and reading it? Because in my mind, I may be a master on Arkan al-Islam, on the 5 pillars of Islam. Like, I know it, right? But in actuality, I may make a mistake in something. Or someone may ask a further question about, like, for example, zakat.
Yes.
Which is it has depth in zakat.
True.
So how do I know when I'm able to actually teach this, and if my own understanding is lacking thereof of understanding the subject? Is it something I need to get tazkiyah for, or sit with a teacher that gives me permission to do so? Was that sort of thing?
It's always a deeper process to seeking knowledge and education, which the traditional way is to go through teachers. It's a combination of both, I would say.
Okay.
So it's always going to be a plus if you can have a recommendation from a teacher and say, okay, that person is qualified to, teach others. And they even have a saying that whoever his sheikh, his teacher, is his books, his flaws always will outweigh his right. So you can't totally depend on the books, and you still have to read the books to, just balance it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brother Yasser?
Yeah, it's not a shame to say, I don't know, you know. So if a scholar felt that he reached a level where he can deliver this information that he took over the years to other people, you know, and if someone else asked him, you know, say about zakat or anything, and he didn't know, you know, just say I don't know. So yeah, so be, you know, he has to be humble, he has to be knowledgeable, he has to be he has to be patient, you know, he has to be very wise, because you know sometimes not all the questions are religious, you know. Some questions are, you know, about just life, you know. So he has to be wise to be able to handle all the aspects of you know, of any random question that he could ever get, you know. But for mainly da'wah, you know, just I like to recall this ayah, يَا قَوْمَنَا أَجِيبُوا دَاعِيَ اللَّهِ, you know, our people like respond for the call of the messenger, you know. So the messenger is a da'i. So all the anbiyas, all the prophets are da'iyas, you know. So it doesn't have, there's no condition on who can be a scholar maybe, or sheikh, you know. Because it's not upon age nor gender, you know, not a male or female, doesn't matter, because each does his liability or his responsibility in a certain you know, way.
Okay.
That's pretty much it, you know.
Yeah, as we're talking, I'm remembering the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ about بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً.
Exactly.
That, you know, inform the people about me, teach about me, even if it's in a single ayah. So if that's all you know, tell people about it.
Just one point, sorry about this, because most people say, okay, you guys, you know, say, for instance, you get a guy who does any kind of sins, you know. I mean, no one's perfect, right? We all do mistakes. So this sinner, he can't, you know, if he advise someone else about any mistake that he does, he say like, you know, you're doing the sin. I mean, you're not in a place to advise me.
Yeah.
I mean, look at yourself. Treat yourself first. I mean, why don't you accept it first, and you know, like let each one handle, but you know, adinu nasiha.
Yeah,
you
we're going to come back around to this point too, because that's one of the biggest inhibitors for people to give da'wah or to remind people, which is looking at yourself first, being an imperfect human being. How do I then tell someone else how to live their lives? So what's the balance that we find in this? Because if that was the case, nobody would ever say anything about, you know, Islam. So, but what are the parameters, Brother Patrick?
Yeah, I actually was a part of an Islamic Jalsa when I remember the da'i, or like the people that giving da'wah, they were the same age as I was. But what had me really astonished is that these people, they were all like, they were students. They you know, they sin, and they talked about their mistakes. And I thought that that's really cool, because they do the mistakes, and if you do the same mistakes, then he knows how you actually feel. Like what is your perspective of doing this exactly? Like he knows what you're going through, so he knows the best way to convince you, like, to stop, or like how to do something better, or how not to do something. That's number one. Number two is what I really like, that they didn't have a lot of knowledge. Like they were the same. They were, even one of them was younger than me, like for 2 years. He was like 20 years old, and he was still a da'i. He went from house to house, and he made jalasat Islamiyya, and he used to give da'wah. And what I liked about him, when I asked him a question, he got asked a lot of questions. There was a question time, like the last 15 minutes. And when you ask a question, if he doesn't know it, he write it down, and he will go to someone, or he will research the question and answer you the next time he sees you. So I think that's really important. Like he didn't leave you clueless. Like he told you, get you an answer, but if he doesn't know the answer right away, he's gonna see what the answer is. He's not gonna make it like in his mind, or he's not gonna say that I don't know and then leave you, you know, because you want an answer. So that's the second thing I really like. So da'i, I don't think you need to be qualified. You just need to have knowledge, as he said, knowledge that would be significant to answer the most broad questions that you can be asked. There are some questions that are really, really common in general that you can be asked in a da'wah. But later on questions, you can go and you know, feedback the answer later, or you know, but you have to have some general knowledge.
Okay. The problem then becomes, how do you gauge what's general knowledge? Because from person to person, it may differ. Mine is relative, so my idea of what general knowledge is, it will differ from person to person. So is there a set standard certain books that you have to cover, certain, I don't know. This is just the thoughts, but in order for a person to say, okay, now I can go give, da'wah or something like that. Brother Idris, I guess you can feed on this.
Yes. Okay. Actuality, everyone is mandatory for them to give da'wah. Now, the thing is, you need to know what I mean by that. That doesn't mean everyone has to go out and give lectures and go out and do. And there's different kinds of da'wah. At the minimum, your behavior is da'wah.
Sure.
I mean, being in the West, I know us in the West have seen this. How you've seen a person who came to Islam and became Muslim simply by the behavior of a Muslim. They didn't even learn anything about Tawheed or anything. This guy's amazing. He's honest. He always does what he says he's going to do. And this person's attracted to it. I want to be like him.
That's true.
And they can't. This is da'wah.
That's true.
So first of all, everyone has to give some kind of da'wah. Okay, this is like the minimum. Now, for a person to go up and give lectures, you have to have a higher skill set of knowledge, of course. So it depends on what category and what angle are you doing. I mean, back in a long time ago when I was in the States, we used to give da'wah on the streets every weekend. We did this for years. And many people became Muslim. We weren't scholars. We weren't alim. What we did was, the minimum we would learn is Tawheed. This is what my teacher told me, is that focus on Tawheed. If somebody starts asking you about angels, tell them, what does that make a difference to you about angels? We're talking about the oneness of Allah. Okay. If you don't understand who Allah is and how to worship Him in your place with Him, knowing whether or not you have, how many angels are and their names of the angels isn't any going to help that person at all. Sure. So we used to just learn the basics about that. So it depends on the situations, what I'm trying to say. Yeah. You have the da'wah of actions, you have the da'wah of calling people, you have the da'wah of lectures, you have the da'wah. I mean, it depends on whatever it is. You need to have, your intentions right. Yeah. Your sincerity and know your role. Yeah. Sure. As you said, if you don't know, you don't know. So.
I think something you mentioned is very crucial. I think it's actually, you said that's da'wah of like akhlaq is a lesser da'wah. Did you say that?
Yeah, sort of like it's calling people to this way by letting them see it by actions.
I would actually argue that it's the opposite. That's the strongest of the da'wah, because it's easy to tell people do this and do that, right? But when people actually see you living it, in my experiences, it's the strongest. Why? Because it's effortless. For you on your part, you're just being a good Muslim, right? But everyone in your environment is recognizing you. They're watching you closely. And, I never really realized how closely people watch until later. They'll tell you years later. Like I became, for example, a mentor of mine, actually. He became Muslim, his wife became Muslim, and all his children became Muslim. And I asked him why, and I knew him for like years. He actually mentored me in high school. So when he became Muslim, I asked him, like, what made you become Muslim? He said, I remember I used to take you out from high school, and we would go to places, and I used to get really bad migraines sometimes. So in the morning, I would go, and I say, listen, I have a migraine right now. Can I have a few seconds to go? And I would go to the car, and I would read Al-Fatiha, and I would come back, and I would feel good. So it blew his mind. He was like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You're taking medicine? I'm like, no, I just, read a little prayer, and, that was it. Because of that, it made him accept Islam, in his words. He said so. And in my mind, I was like, I'm just being Muslim. Like I had a headache, so I read Al-Fatiha. It wasn't something big for me, but for him, someone seeking the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of a higher power, to get cure, that for him was something major. So it's little things like that. Just living your life as a good Muslim, it's the best form of da'wah I've seen, and we've seen it even in the seerah. So the next question that we're going to go to is, what are the social, moral, spiritual responsibilities of the da'i? As we mentioned, like some of the ulama even said that if one of the ulama said, he said that if people were to know my sins, if sins had a smell, no one would sit with me, right? So, people usually try to portray this image of being holier than thou, like I'm righteous, I don't have any sins or whatever. But in reality, we all have sins, and higher or lesser degrees or whatever. We all have these sins. So, what are the parameters placed around someone that's a da'i? Like, can anyone give da'wah? Is an alcoholic, is he qualified to tell me how I should live my life or something like this?
I mean, just as you mentioned, like if we were to make it a standard that, okay, the perfect individual gives da'wah, no one would give da'wah. So I feel like it's a balance. Like me personally, I just started giving khutbahs like a year ago, and for me, I know my shortcomings, I know my mistakes, but when I take that initiative to give a speech or give a lecture or give a khutbah, it gives me a higher conscious.
Yeah.
It makes me think more when I, when I move around. As opposed to if I was just living life as a regular human being, I would still engage in those actions, but my conscience would be less active. So I feel like actually being active in dawah, yes, you're still going to do those mistakes, but your conscience is higher.
I agree.
And it makes you, run back to Allah quicker.
I agree.
So I feel like at the end of the day, all the shuyukhs, all our scholars, they all complain and they all express this in their work, in their books, of their shortcomings. But still, they still kept giving their da'wah.
Yeah, this is true. And also, I mentioned the alcoholic because there's a brother who was on the train. He was drinking alcohol, and the brothers went to give him stern admonishment or whatever, and they were trying to find the ayah that Allah Ta'ala mentioned about alcohol, but they didn't know the ayah. So the brother drinking the alcohol finished the ayah for him. He was happy, right? He said, "This is the ayah about this," right? So it's funny, you never know who's who, right? SubhanAllah. And someone that's drinking may be a better Muslim than you, but we're talking about responsibilities, moral, social, spiritual responsibilities, Brother Yasir.
Yeah, I mean, let him be with the sin. You can advise him back, but you don't have to deny the advice that you just got because you saw him sinning. A responsibility he has a lot of responsibilities. I mean, you can't expect for a scholar to be just to give fatwas and just the next day. I mean,
specifically da'i, not like a scholar, just a regular everyday person that talks to people about Islam.
Regarding da'i is very common, just like the brother Idris said, they used to do it in the streets, and that is like it works best in the streets, because it's very common. I mean, you talk to him face to face. I mean, you can read his body language. I think it's very helpful. Some people, some da'iyas, they have this steady desk or something that shows posters and stuff, and some move from house to house, just like brother from Slovenia said. So in India, they used to have a group of people that moves from a place to place, from a mosque to mosque. And in villages that has a lot of Hindus and other religions, as well as Muslim communities as well, because sometimes you get into a community, you find a lot of sins that has been done in a broad daylight, so that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Okay, Brother Patrick.
Yeah. Actually, as responsibilities of da'i or doing da'wah, I think that everyone should be responsible, because if you're on the right path and you know that you're on the right path and you feel good. Of course, everyone who's on the right path, Allah blesses him and he feels good about himself. He prays and he does all the things that Allah told him. But if let's say for instance, I go out with my friends and I pray. And I'm so happy because I prayed. And let's say I know that my friends didn't pray, so I would just be silent, let them do them and I'll do me. No, that da'wah should be in every situation in your life with your friends. Remind him, remind him when he goes to the toilet, when he sneezes, you just say Alhamdulillah. If he forgets, in every single little thing, if you just remind him, then you're making him do better. You're helping someone else to go on the right path, because we're not greedy. We're not as Muslims. We're not selfish. No, it's the opposite. We're supposed to share the message. This is one of our duties. You share the message of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the message of Allah, and as Brother Idris said, the Tawheed of Allah and how important it is. And this is what you spread the message. If you're just going to be selfish and be like, I'm on the right path, and for someone to win, someone has to lose. No, it's not like that. In Islam, everyone is a winner if you just spread the message. Just with your friends. You see someone doing something wrong, don't do it that way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, if you know the ayah, say to him. If you don't, then just say there was an ayah about this. I don't know it exactly, but it's talking about. Just remind him. You're going to take hasanat, and he's gonna think about it. My friends, when I talk to them, this is wrong, don't do that, try to avoid this. Maybe he'll ignore it, but I'm sure that it will come to him one by one, step by step.
And then when you're in that situation, like after that, you remember that you told him don't do something.
Exactly.
It's
You
a high
become more
conscious-
aware. This is exactly what I'm talking. You become more aware when you remind someone, don't do that. So then, when you find yourself in the same situation doing that, it's like you feel like, no, I shouldn't do that
You don't
because
want to be hypocritical.
exactly. I don't want to be a hypocrite. I just told many people not to do it. So now I'm gonna do that. What if they see me? This is the first thing that thought. What if he sees me? What is he gonna think?
More importantly,
What if Allah
sees me?
Allah's gonna see me anyway.
Yeah,
So I already
yeah.
went past that part. If I already came to my head that I'm gonna do that, I already went past that part that Allah's gonna see me. But you know, it's important. Like you become more aware of your actions. Like Allah, astaghfirullah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm spreading da'wah and now I'm gonna do the same thing. Like astaghfirullah. So
Okay. All right, brother Idris.
For me, I just like to point out the fact that a lot of people don't realize is that, Islam is a community religion.
Sure.
This religion is heavy on community. Okay, so for da'wah, that's one another reason why we know da'wah is mandatory, because it's about the community. It's calling towards that which is right. Okay,
sure.
so you have to call towards that right. It's based upon that. And as you said, if you have your neighbors doing evil and you're like, that's them. This isn't da'wah. You have to call towards that which is good. Allah will hold you accountable if you just keep it to yourself. Don't think that Allah won't ask you. You saw something and you just didn't have a good reason not to at least think of a way to try to fix the problem. So I think most people didn't realize that that once they know that this is a community thing, just to bring it home, is that's why most deeds in Islam that involve the community give you more barakah, more blessings than the deeds that you do for yourself only. So the things that I do for myself usually are less blessings than if I did something for you. This is a general principle. Of course, not everything, but a general principle. So that's why an incentive for people to realize that you can't be a hermit. You need to be the type of person that tries to do your best to improve the community and call them and help them, whether they be Muslim or non-Muslim. It doesn't matter who they are.
Yeah, sure.
Just call to that which is best.
Okay. Alhamdulillah, dear viewers, we're going to pause for a short break and we're going to get right back into our discussion. We're talking about youth and da'wah. Stay tuned. Right after this break, we'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Perfect my eyes and I praise. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Subhanallah. How perfect you are, Allah. Subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Go ahead, Ya Shu'aib. Recite from ayah number 16 to 26.
Yeah, okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ولقد خلقنا الإنسان ونعلم ما توسوس به نفسه ونحن أقرب إليه من حبل الوريد.
المتلقيان عن اليمين وعن الشمال قعيد ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد.
جاءت سكرة الموت بالحق ذلك ما كنت منه تحيد. ونفخ في الصور ذلك يوم الوعيد. وجاءت كل نفس معها سائق وشهيد. لقد كنت في غفلة من هذا فكشفنا عنك غطاءك فبصرك اليوم حديد.
Sent from Allah to an angel.
Muhammad, the best of creation.
Now that we know more about da'wah, what would you say are the characteristics of a da'i?
Sincerity.
Sincerity. Yes?
Good relation with Allah.
Good relation with Allah. Okay.
Patience.
Yes, sir?
Good manners.
Good manners. And there is much more to that. Join us in our program, the Da'wah Workshop, by your brother, Dr. Rayyan Fawzi Arab, so that we could talk more about Da'wah exclusively on Huda TV.
Subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, dear viewers, to our live episode of Let's Talk on your favorite station, Huda TV. I'm your host, Yusuf Kroma, and today we're talking about youth and da'wah. Thus far, we've covered the definition of a da'i and da'wah, the qualifications one needs to ascertain in order to be a da'i, and what are the moral, social, and spiritual responsibilities of da'i. Now I want to get into what role does age and gender play in giving da'wah. You have those that are, sort of construe da'wah for 40, 50-year-old men or the imams of masajid and say that you are exclusive to this. You have those that exclude sisters, women from giving da'wah, that believe that their role are not to inform people about Islam, which I personally believe is incorrect, and I believe you brothers will agree. But what role does age and gender play in giving da'wah, Brother Hamid?
As you mentioned, like in certain societies, they may view people of young age as having no position to speak out and give da'wah or just speak out on social issues. But in the sight of Allah is the exact opposite. In the sight of Allah, this is exactly why He puts certain people in position to be da'is, by giving them knowledge and by giving them wisdom. For example, Prophet Ibrahim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said concerning him, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ رُشْدَهُ مِنْ قَبْلِ. Like we gave Ibrahim his guidance and his maturity at a young age. And upon receiving that knowledge, the first thing he did is he started to call his father to Islam. And he started to denounce the idol worship of his people. And you also have Prophet Yahya. Generally speaking, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses to send a messenger, He waits till that person reaches the age of maturity, which is 40. But in the case of Prophet Yahya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the book at a young age. He said, Ya Yahya khudil kitab bi quwwa wa ataynahu al-hukma sabiyya. Yahya, take the book with determination. That book that we usually give to prophets at a certain age, we're giving it to you at a young age. So take it with strength and take it with power and give it its right. So from the side of Allah, you can clearly see that age doesn't play a role. And even in the seerah, there's a text where it says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before He created everything, He looked at the hearts of the human beings, and He saw that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had the purest of hearts. So He chose him to be the one to be the last messenger. And He looked again at the hearts of the creation, and then He selected a selected few to be the companions that will surround Him and be the ones who helped the da'wah. And the young ones were the ones who supported the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the da'wah. Abu Bakr was only 38 when he accepted Islam. Omar was 28 when he accepted Islam. And the other companions, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, they were all teenagers, literally. So, and they accepted Islam and they defended Islam. They made da'wah, and they are the reason why it reached other parts of the world. And then you have Ibn al-Qayyim, he said in regards to the companions that أولئك أتباع النبي وحزبه ولولا هم ما كان في الأرض مسلمين, that they are the companions, the followers of the Prophet. Had it not been through them, after the decree of Allah, there wouldn't be any Muslims on the face of earth. Because even after the Prophet's death, they went to Egypt, they went to Syria, they went to all corners of the earth giving dawah, passing the baton of this religion and carrying on the duty. So age definitely does play a role, as well as gender. You know, women have the same role as men does. It's certain issues men cannot talk to. You need a woman who has insight and has understanding to, you know, disseminate that information to her fellow sisters. Yani.
Brother Yasser.
Well, mashallah, the brother, he played it all, so I've got nothing left. So so I'm gonna shift this to most people, age never been an obstacle, with da'wah, because I've seen little kids, they're not even, didn't even reach puberty, and they take the microphone, and lecturing thousands of Muslims, mashallah, who were 50 and 60 years old, because they proved it with their knowledge and their memory, because at a young age actually they have the advantage more than older people, because they can remember, they have a good memory, they're very smart, they're so intelligent. I think it's the perfect age for learning and teaching as well, regarding religion and dawah. But most people, the problem is sometimes now we deny al-amru bil-ma'ruf wa nahy al-munkar, commanding what's good and forbidding what's evil, having a police that goes through the streets, telling people to go to the mosque, drop that cigarette, don't look at that girl, So whatever wrong that you're doing, this is what should be, this is the real life of a Muslim, but unfortunately, too bad we're not living it. So we're not living this fantasy, this reality. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he shattered the Jews because كانوا لا يتناهون عن منكر فعلوه, because they did not forbid whatever wrong they did. So we should command what's right and forbid as well.
SubhanAllah, just thinking about youth and dawah, I was complaining to one of my teachers about me starting relatively late to memorize the Quran, whereas some people begin really memorizing at young ages. So I was saying that perhaps if I had begun at an early age, it would have been easier. I would have been Hafiz right now. And he said that's a mistake. He said it's not necessarily that younger children have better memories than adults. He said children have purer hearts and less sins.
Right.
So he said the key to memorizing Quran is not in your age, right? It's not, because if you think about it, the Prophet got Nubuwwah at 40 years old, and Abu Bakr and these guys are you mentioned 30 years old, and some Sahaba 50, 60 years old. So he says not the age, it's about the taqwa and about the purity of your heart. So if you remove the sins from your life and you remove these sort of things that inhibit one to receive the mercy and the teaching of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran will be easy for you.
True.
That's why many prophets, many companions, whenever they see any young kids, they tell them, pray for me, because you're not have sinned yet.
Yeah. So, Brother Patrick.
Yeah, I actually I thought at first what I thought about is that age is not important, because to be honest, when I went to this Islamiyah and the word da'i was actually the same age, you feel more comfortable, because he knows exactly what you're going through. He knows exactly what's going through your head, because teenagers have a certain thoughts through their head. They at some ages they start asking questions about Islam, and nobody answers them, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said ask. He said to humans to ask, wonder, because that's how you come. Because as soon as you start thinking about Allah, the shaitan will start putting other thoughts to your head, because he said the one that will think and start to think about Allah, that's the one that will go on the right path, because you will go and come to your answer. So that's how you come to answers, to ask questions, and actually to ask questions to the right person. So I thought, at my age, when I find someone the same age, similar age, we sit in MSA in my university, we'd have after prayer, we have this it's not a mosque, it's like a rug, we pray, and sometimes someone asks really a random question about Islam, and so we start talking, and it's similar minds working on similar questions, similar answers, similar problems. So age is not necessarily, you don't need to be old and have like a lot of knowledge in order to, you know, do da'wah. No, you can be really young and have a certain problems at that point of life and you do da'wah. And you can be really old. Of course, I respect the scholars that
we should, yeah.
Yeah, we all should. The scholars, they have a lot of knowledge and they provide us with a higher set of answers, higher set of an image of what's right, what's wrong. He can explain it better. As for the gender, yeah, I think that gender doesn't have any importance of doing da'wah, because women should do da'wah as well as men. It's as we mentioned earlier, it's a duty of a Muslim to do the da'wah. We didn't say a Muslim man, a Muslim woman. We said a Muslim. So if we say that women can't do da'wah, we're saying that they're not Muslims. That's not right. So I'm saying that I even know Galasat Islamiyya, they were like in the masjid, and they upstairs where there's women, the women prayer room, and they do da'wah. Women, because there are some problems that men will never understand. You will not understand. You have to be inside a mind of a woman, because they're more emotional. They're different. They're different. They have a different way of thinking, different way of seeing things, and I think that a woman. Sometimes I even saw that women have scholars have better knowledge than some men, actually.
Historically,
in Islam, yeah, in the history, and that's amazing, because if you have knowledge, share it. That's why you have it. Like, you don't have knowledge because we agree, okay, now I know what's right, what's wrong, so just like, and then sit there silent. No, they do, and they do da'wah, and women have certain questions, and they feel more comfortable asking the questions when there's only women. No, because if they're men, sometimes they maybe feel shy, you know, asking certain questions, because it's a man, so she can't ask certain questions.
Right. No,
so,
I agree,
yeah.
So all of this, of course, within the parameters of what is allowed between men and women and things like this. You know,
exactly.
Alhamdulillah, I think it's very beneficial that we both educate our women, our sisters, rather, in society, and that they have, you know, that we support them in giving da'wah and, you know, dealing with their affairs as well. Brother Idris?
Yeah, for me, I just would like to add on what Brother Hamid said, because it's kind of covered anything that I thought about in this subject. Is that it reminded me of a hadith, and unfortunately I don't remember the hadith where it came from right now, but I remember just recently hearing it from one of my brothers I admire a lot, from Omar Dunlap in Australia, that the Rasul told us that this religion was carried and held and brought forth by the youth. Allah chose the youth and brought forth by the youth. It came to us because of the youth, not because of the old, because of the youth. They're the ones who held the strongest, you know, ties to bringing forth this religion to us. And I thought about, you know, there's a hadith, you know, the one about everyone pretty much knows this hadith, it's very popular, about the 7 who be in the shade of Allah on the Day of Judgment when there's no other shade.
Yeah, sure.
And to summarize, because I know I don't want to take it too long, but we have one of them is what? The youth.
Who began worshiping Allah in his early
age. When he was young, he worshiped Allah the way he's supposed to be worshiping. He gave up all of the dunya and things that pull you away and make you, you know, that you do when you're young. You get caught up in trying to find your career and hanging out with your friends and doing all these sports. And if you think about it, I started to think about, like, why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hold this type of behavior so high? Why is it so higher than, like, somebody who's 75 who's in the masjid praying and giving dhikr, giving money and doing everything, and all he does is serve the deen? Why is this youth, his acts higher than usually that person? And if you think about it and you're honest, and the psychology behind it is that when you're in your youth, you're busy thinking about what you want. You know, what you want out of life. What I'm trying to get a career, trying to get married, and I want to get a car. If you ask somebody, do you love Allah? Yes, you love Allah. They love them, but their mind is busy with life. So a person who can separate himself and give this stuff up, and not necessarily give it up completely, but can prioritize it. You know what I mean? When you ask them, what's your goal in life? If they tell you to get a Mercedes or to get a job or to be an engineer, it shouldn't be your goal, your first goal in life. My goal is to make it to Jannah. My goal is to be sitting next to Rasulullah on the day. That's my goal. Everything else, alhamdulillah, this is secondary. So if a youth is able to do that, which is not easy, I'm sure, you know, all of us know this. It's not easy, especially in this day and age, to give it up. The difference is the old man's already done it. He's not giving up anything. It's easy to focus on the deen when you're old. Because you don't have anything to give up, really. You already know you only got that much time left. So for you, going to the masjid, all prayers, it's easier for you to do it than when you were in youth. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala holds these youth and gives them a special status. Because it takes a special person to do this type of, and be this type of person when you're young. And this isn't to take away from the old people who are doing ibadah and stuff. Allah is the one who prioritizes. It's not me to take away from them,
Because maybe the old guy, he was that young person who's now old.
So it depends, on the situation. But it isn't that we're like taking away from the old person. We're not taking away from their barakah. But Allah Himself is the one who prioritized this and glorified it and highlighted these youth. And He chose them to hold His religion for us. So you have to be honest and think about these things and try to understand the hikmah behind why is this the way it is and what happened. So the youth play not only just a part of it. Probably the youth play the role. They should be holding the lamps. Unlike the older ones, need to teach them. Make them men. They shouldn't be such in the background like, we're gonna pull you in, son, and put you in the background. No, they should be up front. And they should be. You find the youth that are the ones that Allah mentions. Find the ones who care. There are some there. Find those and mold them and help them and bring them up front.
Okay, so let's move to what are some of the general trials and difficulties faced by, say, a young da'i?
Like, for anyone who decides to embark on that path, just understand that you're putting like your name and your reputation on the line.
Always.
And everything is like, your chest is wide open. So you have individuals out there who, within themselves, they just, maybe there's something in their hearts and stuff like that. It may not be true about you, but you're going to have people attack your dignity. Critics, they're going to criticize you. It may not necessarily be true. Some people may even try to harm you, for you doing what you believe in, And we find examples in like the Prophet ﷺ. Before he became a prophet, he was known as Al-Amin. And people would entrust him with their possessions, and when there were disputes, they would call him to settle disputes. But the moment he started calling people to Islam, they flipped on him just like that. And now he's a liar. Now he's a magician. Now he's a poet. Now he's this. Now he's that. And modern, contemporary times, you have the likes of Malcolm X. They were da'is too. Malcolm X, and any regular person you do da'wah, you're going to have people who respect your movement, and then you're going to have people who just, they just have something in them. So they want to, taunt your image. They want to spoil your image. So you're going to have backbiting, jealousy, envy, etc., etc.
Yeah, and subhanAllah, and that can happen with the Prophet ﷺ, who was like the best example of what it is to be a human being and as well as a Muslim. What about us who are to a lesser degree, who what somebody say about us may necessarily be true, it may be true or not, but it's just taken to another level. So it's something you mentioned is very true, that once you begin to sign up for da'wah, what I tend to find is either two extremes. Either people will put you on a pedestal higher than you belong and put you to this level, which is dangerous because the higher you go, once they pull the rug from under you, the harder you fall. Or people will try to push you down. They will find a way to discredit you, to make, to bring you down to their level. Oh, he's not that, so he does this. They're desperately seeking a way to bring you down to their level. Very seldom will you find people in the middle. Accept this brother for what he is. He's reminding us about Allah. It's not about him, but what he says, about what he reminds us of. But people, they make it, they find it very difficult to make a distinction between the two. Brother Yasser?
Yeah, if the Shaykh, does a mistake or does a sin, he doesn't represent Islam, but Islam represents him.
Sure.
So, most errors and trials that Sheikhs or young da'is fall in, that they can't identify the problem that the opponent suffers, or suffer from. Say maybe for an example, I can't walk to someone and tell them, did you pray the 5 times, this day? Did you do anything wrong? Don't make him hate it, make him love it. Be like, if you saw him doing a sin, okay, first of all, smile, don't be harsh, talk to them with, just be cool, like be easy, be calm. Don't be angry and harsh all the time, I see some sheikhs, you know, they talk with aggressiveness because, I mean, don't get that wrong, because it shows from the love, you know. I mean, they're loving you. So, you know, you just be compassionate, you know.
Okay.
So.
Brother Patrick?
Yeah, I think one of the main problems what a young guy would face is these days the youth, or like teenagers, especially, like, I'm not gonna say in only my college, because I'm sure it's in any college. Like, if someone would come up, because these days youth is more and more away from Islam. Like, what I noticed, that Islam became like it's not even a religion anymore. It's something else. I don't know what it is, because I'm not one of them. I can't explain it, but it's something else. It's like yeah, I'm a Muslim.
It's cultural, sort of.
Yeah, it's like I'm a Muslim. Yeah, that's
the brand.
it. Yeah. And that's it. And like I could actually picture their faces if I would go there. Let's say there's this spot we sit in our university. If I would go there and say, like, let's go play Dohr, I can you know, I can imagine the face like what? What? Yeah, that's exactly what would they say. Like, what? What? Like I said, the weirdest thing ever. Like, this is whoa. No, we don't do that.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, we're Muslims, but we don't do that.
Right.
So, you know, this is the problem in youth these days. That what a young da'i is gonna face a lot of rejections. Like, I could say to a friend, let's go pray Dohr. Yeah, I'm saying, let's go pray Dohr. Nah, man, I got things to do, whatever. And then you're gonna face rejections.
I'll be back. You know.
And yeah, and that's the problem. The problem is that when he faces rejections, this sometimes pushes him down.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe one day you're gonna go home and think about it. What everyone is like against it. Like, maybe there's a problem in me, and then starts to evolve this sort of critical thinking inside you. Like, maybe what if I'm wrong? No, but what is important is that have your belief, have your faith strong, and keep pushing, especially in these days, because more and more youth are going away from Islam. They need help. I say they need help, so offer them help.
We have no more time left, Idris, but I just want to have you do the closing remarks, inshallah, and then we'll end
just very quickly, I would say my number one advice would be is remain, steadfast, istiqamah, because nowadays they're going to be made to compromise. You're going to be made to, bombarded with, you Muslims this, you Muslims that, and you'll be wanting to compromise in your deen to make everybody happy and to call them to the deen. The da'i doesn't compromise. Call people to stay on the path and remain firm and accept the ridicule, accept the slandering, accept the lying and the everything that will come at you. Just ignore it and keep on the path.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. It's been a wonderful episode today talking about youth and da'wah. And in closing, I just want to say something to follow up with what Brother Idris is saying. If you are engaging on a path of da'wah, sincerity, and don't lose focus on your objective. Your objective is not to change people. Your objective is not to make, is not to bring people to Islam. Allah Ta'ala is responsible for the results. Your job is to do the action. So whether people reject you or follow you or love you or hate you, that's not your responsibility, it's not your concern. Our concerns are only to portray the message. And inshallah Ta'ala, Allah will give us tawfiq, and the results are up to Him. So until next time, it's been a wonderful day, wonderful show, very educational, inspirational. We ask you to make dua for us. I want to thank our hosts for always contributing and showing up to this wonderful discussion. It's been a wonderful show, as we said. I'm your host, Yusuf Kroma. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How perfect my Allah is, and I praise Him. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, Subhanallah. How perfect you are, Allah. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, Subhanallah. How perfect you are, Allah. Subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, Allah, Subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, Allah. I'm calling your name, Allah. I call you, I need you, Allah. Your mercy is great.